In the beginning, there was nothing but an egg. Inside this egg was chaos and confusion. Within it, Panku. Panku was a giant who slept in peace inside this egg for 18,000 years, surrounded by this chaos. As Panku grew, so did the egg. Then one day, when things were in even more turmoil, Panku woke up and saw all that was going on around him. He learned that he must dodge the exploding gases and random moving asteroids that were about to harm him. After a long while, Panku did not like listening to the noise and irregular rhythms and chaos. The noise irritated him for many, many years, and all he wanted was his tranquil sleep again. He became so bothered that he took a meteor and swung it up upon the center of the egg. With that, the egg split apart. The universe was broken in two. All of the light forces of the world rose up and formed the heavens, while the dark forces dropped down and made the earth. Panku was extremely happy with the way things became. To keep the earth and heaven separated and at peace, he wedged his body between the two and held them apart with his hands and feet. Each day, the two split farther and farther apart as he continued to stretch. For eons, he continued to hold up the heavens without complaint. After many thousands of years, he became tired and his muscles cramped. He was beginning to lose his hold on the heavens, but he still kept holding it. Finally, the heavens and the earth lost their memories of each other. In other words, their separation became permanent, and they became Yin, the earth, and Yang, the heavens. As the two were completely separated, Panku slowly began to age, wither, and die. His flesh became nutrient-rich soil. His sweat became the rain and dew. His hair and beard turned into trees and bushes of the earth. His teeth and bones became the gold, silver, and copper, and buried themselves deep within the earth. His bone marrow became the jade. His blood became lakes and rivers. And as he died, he cried great tears that became the oceans. And with his last dying breath, it formed the winds and clouds of the earth. And finally, Panku, the creator, was dead. Nuwa, a traveling goddess, came upon the earth by accident. When she came to the earth, she was marveled by the fragrant flowers, the trees budding with fruit, and the birds which fluttered around in the sky. She walked around the entire earth and saw hundreds of different creatures of all different kinds of furs, tails, scales, horns, and stingers. These creatures lived in the trees, underwater, and on the ground, high in the mountains and up in the sky. The flowers enticed her with different smells and perfumes. As she looked, she felt upset with this new world. It felt empty to her, and she could not figure out why. As she sat by a stream, she saw her reflection and knew what was missing. Creatures like her. So she took into her hands some of the clay from the riverbed and began to form from it into a doll. She gave it a head, shoulders, torso, and arms, all just like her. But when it came to the lower half of the body, she didn't know what to give the doll. "Should my creation be able to walk on land," she said, "or swim in the sea?" Seeing as Nuwa constantly changed her lower half to be able to do both of these things, she gave the human legs. They could be used for walking and for swimming. When she was finished with her task, she breathed onto the doll and it sprang to life, giggling and laughing with happiness. She started making many of these creatures, and they came in all different shapes and sizes, just so Nuwa could tell them apart. Soon after making these humans, she realized that she could not be here to watch over them forever. So with a twist and a poke, she made half of the dolls male and the other half female, and she gathered them all over to her. She told them how to reproduce, the importance of marriage, and the importance of obligations between a couple. After she finished, she called upon her chariot, which was pulled by 6 dragons, and she left the world. She left with confidence that her new creations will survive and continue to live in happiness. As Fushi watched the helpless humans, he noticed something. They were slow-moving and easily frightened. They were not able to protect themselves like the turtle's shell would, or the powers of the gods would. Fushi decided to teach the people how to survive and defend themselves. He taught the new people how to make rope from plant fibers and how these ropes can make nets and bridges. From these nets, they could get fish from the oceans and lakes to use for food. With the bridges, they were able to cross giant mountain passes. Lightning scared the new humans and caused them to cower in fear in caves. Fushi taught them how to make fire with 2 willow sticks and how fire could be used to cook food and keep them warm. Also, they were able to use the fire to scare away animals. The cooked food was easier for them to eat and digest, and it tasted much better. In the springtime, Fushi taught humans how to make bows and arrows for hunting. He taught humans how to tame and raise animals, that they must only take as much as they need for food, and never to overindulge themselves. He also invented the first writing system by scratching small pictures onto shells. People learned how to write by mimicking how Fushi did. As Fushi taught humans more, just like Numa, he knew he could not stay on Earth forever, and they must learn on their own. As Fushi was planning to leave, he gave his last gift to the humans: music. With music, humans would not become boastful, and they would be able to teach their children about their lives and lessons through the sounds and melodies. He gave certain pitches meaning: high pitches in alert or excitement, and low pitches for a calm relaxation. Fushi said goodbye to his peoples and ascended high into the heavens, where now he continues to live.
Gong, the god of water, had a certain body with a human head enchanted with long, dead, straight red hair. Gon, being a greedy god who thirsted power, decided he would rule the earth while no other gods were inhabiting or watching it. After Gon quickly gained control, to expand his influence, he slowly flooded the earth with water. However, another god was planning something similar. Zumong, a large muscular giant with long red beard, was the god of fire, and he was planning to take over the earth as well. And when it came to his knowledge that Gon was already in the process of flooding it with his influence, Zumong challenged Gon to a war to test power. Gon accepted. They took their war to heaven and fought equally, one god dealing a powerful attack to the other and vice versa. Then with all their might, they attacked both of each other, and with a furious magic-bound attack that was so powerful it cracked the floor of heaven. The two gods decided it would be best to put their war on pause and meet on Earth to continue their fight. Zumon arrived much before Gon did. Gong's arrival could not have gone without noticed. Gon came by an army of boats. Each shrimp, turtle, and crab warrior had their faces painted red, and a large portion of the army was beating on war drums with Gong leading the way. Zumon was not so stupid. He hid and awaited Gong and his army to arrive on land. When they did, Zumon had saved much of his power, and quickly he blew out powerful attacks by surprise and took out half of Gong's army. The half of the army that was killed disintegrated and turned into sand. Slowly, as Zumon killed Gong's warriors, more and more of the water from Gong's flood was turning into land. Before completely killing all of the Gong's army, Zumon approached Gong and offered to end the war if Gong gave up ruling the earth. Gong reluctantly agreed. Gong, in all his anger, ran to the first pillar of the earth and bashed his head into it. Gong hit the pillar so hard that it started to crack and then broke. It sent the heavens off balance, and slowly all the pillars started breaking. The crack was dealt to the heaven, and the first battle grew bigger and then shattered. Ill-willed gods began to pour out and crash into the second highest mountains next to the pillars. When the ill-willed gods crashed into the top of the mountains, a large hole was placed in them, and with all the bad intentions of the gods, their negative aura poured and turned into extremely hot ooze that was starting to go through the land, killing humans. By luck, Nuwa had missed her creations and decided to revisit Earth, only to find her beautiful creations suffering. Nuwa, being a higher class god than Zumon, eliminated his power without fuss, and quickly attempted to find the first solution to putting everything back in order. First, she hastily found the biggest warrior turtle dead in Gong's army, and ripped off its legs to replace the 4 pillars that it had shattered. The ill-willed demons were too many numbers and too pesky, so Nua put a sealing ward on the mountains that would withhold the demons for an extended amount of time, but not permanent. Once the earth was restoring itself, Nua went to her humans as they told her all about Fushi. Nua then granted them an accessory to expand their music. She invented the flute and taught them how to play it. She said the sounds would soothe the gods and prevent large wars such as this one from breaking out. Once everything was restored and her human population was back to a fair size, she once again left and hoped her people would not need her anytime soon. She had her family she wished to attend to.
Yu was a man whom dressed like a dragon and gained all the memories and power and knowledge of his father Kun. By decision long ago, people decided that one person should lead them, and unfortunately, someone known as the Yellow Emperor was the ruler. He was tyrannical and harsh. Yu had begged the Yellow Emperor to show mercy on the hard-working farmers, since he too was a farmer who was straining to do well out of exhaustion. But the bitter man refused. He later died of old age. As Yu traveled around China, he studied and noted the different tribes all around. All over, Yu found people to be happy, and this made him aware of his loneliness. He worked alone day in and day out. His hands were calloused and his skin burned, and he limped around because he had a deformed leg. Because he helped so many people, everyone chose Yu to become the next great emperor of China. He founded the Xia dynasty, and the world was healthy and beautiful. People continued to live happy long after Yu's time because of how much he helped everyone.
The god of archery, Yi, one day fell in love with one of the star children named Chang'o. Together they mated, and Chang'o gave birth to 10 sons, literally. 10 bright sons were born. They were reckless boys who only liked to fool around. As they grew, the suns would purposely shine bright and heat the earth and cause multiple droughts to happen to humanity. The sons went from fun mischief to harmful games that were considered ill-willed. Chen-O begged her sons to stop their havoc, but they laughed at her. She was a regular star. They were much brighter, so they shrugged her off and continued on their way of causing problems. Chang'o cried as she missed her affectionate sons. The gods held a meeting and talked about the problematic sons. They told Chang'o and Yi to take care of their sons and control them. Yi and Chang'o were at a loss, until a wise old man from the earth prayed for Yi's arrival. The old man told Yi he had the ability to make magical arrows that can defeat his sons. Yi was grateful and begged the old man to give him these magical arrows. The old man gave Yi 10 arrows. The old man warned Yi that if the arrows would put his sons out, in other words, they would no longer live. Yi understood. Yi set out on a mission to find his eldest son. He decided to hunt his sons only at night when they were tired. He told his son to stop his behavior or else. His son laughed at him, so Yi took out his first arrow and killed him. Yi proceeded to do this 2 more times, but after his third son being killed, Yi, instead of feeling remorse, had a feeling of empowerment. He continued to hunt the rest of his sons without warning or reason, just shot his arrows and killed them. And just as Yi was about to kill his last and youngest son, his son begged him, promising to stop, and luckily, the gods interfered. They were infuriated with how merciless and bloodlust Yi had become. His youngest son was crying powerful solar flares at the sight of his dead brothers. The gods, angry, banished Yi from the gods and turned him mortal. Chang'o cried for her 9 dead sons and apologized to her youngest son. She told him she still loved Yi, and she begged the gods to turn her mortal too, so she could be with him. The gods agreed and sent Chang'o with Yi to Earth as mortals. The last youngest son sets every day at night, the same time his brothers died. He sets in their honor and memory, and to allow the humans to rest.